Hi everybody, I'm back with another fragrance review, and this one is really embarrassing because I actually meant to review this for the last 2 years. I actually bought this back in 2014, early 2014, and it is Etat Libre is Eau de Protection, which was designed by the actress, I'm going to butcher the name again, I'm sorry, Rossy De Palma or Rossy De Palma, and this is, as you can see, one of my favourite fragrances, and that's why it's so embarrassing that I'm only just reviewing it now, because if you look at how much I've used it, I should have reviewed this when it was full, not when it was nearly empty. I only probably have about 2 uses of this left. And this is the 50 milliliter size. It also comes in the 100 milliliter size, and the bottle of the 100 milliliter is different to this one in that it just has the regular Etat Libre Orange sticker that is on most of the bottles, but this 50 milliliter one has this dragon on it, which kind of reminds me of the dragon from Sleeping Beauty when Maleficent turns into the dragon. And I'm actually going to make another Sleeping Beauty reference later on. I don't know if that was deliberate, because so far I think I'm the only person who's picked up on the fact that it reminds me of Sleeping Beauty. But now I'm looking at the dragon and it obviously looks like the one from Sleeping Beauty. So I don't know if that was deliberate or if the actress who designed it just likes dragons. What I really love about Etat Libre Orange is they collaborate with some really interesting and unusual people like Tilda Swinton. People who are famous but not people you would necessarily expect to, make a fragrance, or big names that will sell fragrances. They work with more interesting people. I think if David Bowie was to have ever have done a fragrance collaboration in his life, then he would have done one with this company, because they love unusual characters. So like I said, this is the 50 ml. I would have loved to have got the 100 ml, but Etat Libre Orange is obviously very expensive. And this was actually the first ever Etat Libre Orange fragrance I got. The full size, because I did have the Discovery set. And after trying the Discovery set, I'm sorry about the light, by the way. It's just the wrong time of day. Maybe if I sit here, blocks it out. Okay. So I got the Discovery set where they give you, I think it's around about 25 to 30 samples, or maybe I've overestimated that. Maybe it's about 20 samples. You don't get the whole range, but you get a kind of 1.5 milliliter or 2 milliliter sample of their best-selling fragrances, and you get to try them out and see which one's your favourite. And it wasn't so much that this one was my favourite and that was why I bought it first. It was just that in that moment when I tried the sample, I absolutely loved it and I just really wanted it there and then in the full size. And I'm really glad I got it. And since then I've had 3 more full size bottles. I've had Fat Electrician, which I've now sold because it's not so much I didn't like it because I really loved the fragrance. It was just that I didn't wear it very often. And I also have Dangerous Complicity, which I have the 100 milliliter of, and also Tilda Swinton like this, again 100 milliliter. And that one and this one are probably my favourite fragrances of all time. And you know me, I have over 100 fragrances. That is a big statement to make, but I honestly mean that. This and that one are just the best things ever. Okay, so the packaging, typical Etat Libre Orange, but with this same cap as usual, very heavy with the stamp on top. And I'm just going to get right into the notes. These are the notes that are listed on Fragrantica, but I remember from the pamphlet thing that you get with the Discovery set that there's also an additional note in this that's not listed on Fragrantica. So it says there are notes, the top notes of bergamot, ginger, and pepper. Middle notes of Bulgarian rose, geranium, and jasmine. And in the base there is patchouli, benzoin, incense, and cacao. And the additional note that is listed in the pamphlet is blood. And that I think is very important because, yes, this fragrance does have a bloody to it. And before you're running away from my review screaming, remembering the reaction I had to Secretion Magnifique, this the blood is what makes this fragrance, and it makes it smell amazing. It's not scary or disgusting at all. So the notes that I really get from this when I smell it is the Bulgarian rose. This is a very rich, fresh, peppery rose, because there's a bit of that black pepper in there as well. It's a peppery, fresh rose. It's not powdery at all. It's very rich and full of life and in full bloom, and it's just so wonderful. And then I also get the chocolate or the cacao, so it's almost like a kind of chocolate powder or hot chocolate. And I also get that blood. And the other notes, I wouldn't say play a huge part in this. Perhaps the incense and the benzoin are there, but it's not a major thing. For me, it's those three main notes. So you have the wonderful metallic bloodiness of the blood. That sounds disgusting. I'm picturing this now and it sounds awful, but it smells good. Just trust me on that. That wonderful rose, a bit of incense, bit of blah 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 in the background, but that wonderful rich deep cocoa as well. So coming back to the Maleficent / Sleeping Beauty vibe that I got from it, I've always said that this reminds me of the Tale of Sleeping Beauty, and that is because of the notes. And so when you think of Sleeping Beauty, you think of the red rose that is kind of her symbol, and also she grows up in this wonderful forest surrounded by flowers and so on. And then later on I'm thinking of the Disney film. Later on in the story, the Maleficent, the evil queen witch person, makes the forest of thorns in front of the castle, and so that reminds me of the blood a bit and that kind of bitterness of the cocoa. And then later on, Sleeping Beauty obviously pricks her finger on the spinning wheel, and so that's where, again, the blood and the metallic note of the blood obviously makes a very metallic note, and so that reminds me of the spinning wheel. So overall, this just reminds me of that fairy tale, and I think that's wonderful. It would be great to wear this and watch that film together. So yeah, it's a very strong fragrance. It has a nice throw. It's very long lasting, but it's not overpowering. And when I talk of that kind of bloodiness and that metallic note, it's not bad. It combines so well with that rose and that bitter dark chocolate as well. It just ends up smelling wonderful. If you are a rose fan, a fan of rose fragrances, I think you definitely should at least get a sample of this and do yourself a favour, because it is unlike anything you've probably ever smelled before in your rose collection. This is a must-have, I think, for rose lovers. It's dark, it's gothic, it's almost like a vampire smell, because I can imagine I'm thinking of kind of really old silent horror films or early really tacky horror films with kind of lesbian vampires and so on. But I can imagine kind of almost like a medieval castle, with metallic, the swords all over the walls and the blood from the vampire. It just all combines to create this wonderful, deep, rich, dark, gothic fragrance. But again, it's actually very wearable. I know those notes and those descriptions sound completely crazy and insane, but there is a freshness to this as well. And it's rich, it's fresh, and it is completely wearable. It sounds absurd that I'm saying this, but you really just have to try it if you appreciate those notes or appreciate the concept of this, because it smells absolutely wonderful, and that's why it's probably my second favourite fragrance after Tilda Swinton Like This. And so yeah, I'm so upset that I'm nearly at the end of it, because I'm going to have to probably get the 100ml bottle now. But it's just perfect for all year round, any occasion. It's so wearable, but it has blood in it. Gonna end on that note. Bye.